Now, a lot of people call me and they're like, Jason, I want a deal. The deal is right now, you guys, because the deal is the equity. Don't look at that interest rate number. It'll hold you back. And we don't want you to stop being buyers. We want you to find the home that you love, that you could enjoy with family. And even if you're renting, look at the buying side. That's a whole nother conversation too. Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the ICW. I'm joined by Ian Main out in Spain. What's happening, Ian?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, brother, doing awesome. It's great to see you always. And today we're going to be talking about relationships in real estate, how to create them, how to maintain them, how to grow them, nurture them, all that good stuff. So we're going to dive into that in just a minute. But Ian, you and I were talking a little bit, and out in Spain, it's a little different as far as people getting their money and being able to buy a home.
Yeah.
Here in the United States, obviously, people are utilizing a local lender, and they have interest rates tied in with all that too. So I wanted to share this story because this past weekend, I had a lot of conversations about interest rates with buyers and even sellers and what's going on in today's market. And from my standpoint, it's interesting, I think. The federal government regulates the interest rates here, and they've gone up from 5% to 6% to floating around 7% right now. Earlier this year, maybe about 2-3 months ago, the federal government reported that interest rates will be dropping by the end of 2024. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, they don't answer the million-dollar question of what will the interest rates drop to? It's a guessing game, right? And so it leaves a lot of people in doubt or in curiosity or maybe in hope that it's going to drop to the low sixes or the fives or lower. Is that feasible? I don't know. When I look at this, I watch interest rates every week, and I'm talking to lenders every week to really grasp what's happening with all this numbers and how can we benefit buyers as well as our sellers out there. With these interest rates, I see them go up to 7.3, 7.4s, and then they drop to 7, 7.1. So in the eyes of the federal government, does this mean that they have dropped since they went from 7.4 to 7.1?
Yeah.
So that's where, as a consumer, as a buyer in real estate, because if you look at the average over the last 20 years, 7% interest rate is the national average here in the United States. So we're at average, you guys, on an interest rate level. Inventory level, we're still super low in most cases around the nation. Here in Indiana, we're like 1.4 months supply of inventory. 6 months is a normal market. So right. It's that we're trying to get to a normal market. Those interest rates floating and staying around 7% may sit there. They may even go up. But what if they go up to 8% and then they drop down to 7.3? Is the federal government still accurate to say the interest rates dropped? Because they did.
Yeah.
So here's where, as a buyer, here's my advice too. And we could dive into this, whether it's in another video or if you're watching this as a buyer and have questions, reach out to us and we'll have a conversation there. Even if you're a realtor and you want to discuss this more, let's get on the phone. I'd love to have that conversation too, because I love to brainstorm just like me and Ian are doing right now.
100%.
As a buyer, if you're going to buy today at a 7% interest rate, look at the amount of equity you're going to be gaining because appreciation continues to rise. And now it may be slower than it was 2 years ago. You're not getting 10, 15%, but you're getting 1 or 2%, maybe 3% in certain areas around here in Indiana. So your longevity of equity is going to make up for that interest rate. And then if they do drop below 7% to a 6.8, a 6.5, or maybe it does go to 6%, then refinance at that point. Because then you could take that equity out, you could put it in your pocket, you could build a giant patio if you want, you could add on to the house if you want, you could use that money for what you want because it's your equity. And so that's where you benefit in this market right now. A lot of people call me and they're like, Jason, I want a deal. The deal is right now, you guys, because the deal is the equity. Don't look at that interest rate number. It'll hold you back. And we don't want you to stop being buyers. We want you to find the home that you love, that you could enjoy with family. And even if you're renting, look at the buying side. That's a whole nother conversation too. But Ian, man, what do you think of that? I know you don't deal with interest rates too much. So when I drop numbers like that on you, what's kind of your thought process, as I'm kind of laying that information down?
Yeah, so I try to look at it as a from a buyer's perspective, like as if I was looking at houses and then you were like talking to me as if you're my realtor explaining this all to me. So I mean, we do have a similar kind of situation here also, where we're expecting the interest rates to drop. I think we're sitting at about 5% at the moment here in Spain. I agree with you on the equity thing. That's something to focus on, which is a lot easier to focus on in the US. I think your guys' appreciation is a lot better than it is here in Spain. We also always appreciate, but it's not as much as you guys. It's like 2-3%, kind of appreciation what we're looking at on equity on property. But for me, it's like, don't make a permanent decision on a temporary. It's like, I always think when I'm talking to my team or even family or whatever, you don't make a permanent decision on temporary emotions. And that's like the kind of way that I think about it. So don't make a permanent decision, as in, don't miss out on the opportunity to buy your dream home or to invest in whatever it is you're looking to invest in on a temporary number, which is going to be the interest rate in this case. So no, I agree. I agree that the equity is what you should be looking at. It's going to go up, and that's what you should focus on more than anything else. Don't miss out on a great opportunity just because somebody that spoke about a scary interest rate number or whatever. And also, the government might be saying, like you said, oh, interest rates have dropped. Like, yeah, they did drop, but it's not, we're not looking at, nothing crazy. It's dropped. They're not lying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big thing. They're not lying, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's just probably not what you were expecting. So that's good.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head, because it's what we're not expecting. And maybe we have a false hope out there as a buyer, or anybody in the real estate spectrum. And that false hope can lead to frustration, discouragement. And now those two lead to you losing out on money, AKA that equity.
Yep.
So that's where our role as a realtor is so important and so vital, to help educate you. Something that I've been doing weekly is sending out a weekly newsletter to all my clients, that through my database, to say, here is the true facts of what's going on in real estate. Now, there's blog posts if you want to read. There's short excerpts. There's videos on there. So I try to put a little bit of difference in what goes on, but it's there for education purposes. So, if that's important, then dial in, let's connect, and let's make that happen, because that education is going to be huge no matter what. And if you're a realtor out there that's saying, man, how are you doing this newsletter and how are you getting these ideas? Let's have that conversation too. Just reach out to Ian or myself and we'll make that happen. So, Ian, I'm glad we were able to talk about that. It was on my mind, brother.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that, but I did want to change the topic as we discussed. We want to talk about building some relationships, right, man?
building relationships, and we can probably even tie that in also. You're talking about doing newsletters, keeping in touch, keeping people up to date, educating them. I think that plays a big role in our in our sector and what we do, and to maintaining and nurturing these relationships. That's when we talk about how do you keep up to date with your database and your clients and all those leads that you have just sitting there. Most people are going to say like, oh, I send out some kind of, well, maybe not most, but a lot of people, I send out a market update every month, every quarter, every week, whatever it is. So I think it's a great way to tie in what we want to discuss today.
Very good, very good dot connecting, may I say there. Ian. So yes, no, I totally agree. I mean, if we're going to build relationships with clientele, and even realtors for that matter,
True.
isn't education vital to all of us in everything that we do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's very
it's
true. Everything that we do.
if somebody's going to take the time to educate me on anything that's important to me, then that person then becomes valuable, correct?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Um, so that's why I love education. It's just something I have in my passion and my heart, to
Yeah.
help build that relationship. And I think we could dive in there, but I think we're missing a vital piece. How do we start building a relationship with somebody that maybe we don't know? Maybe it's we meet them out and about at a party, at a grocery store, just at the gas station.
Yeah.
How do we build a relationship from unknown to fully grown and helping you in your business?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the the golden question, I think, and I think this is going to be different for everyone as well. Excuse me, because some people have the confidence to be able to start a relationship because either they're used to it or they have experience in it, or they're just super outgoing and they're happy to talk to everyone and anyone anyway. Um, or you might be like me, where I'm a little bit more reserved, a bit more of an introvert, and I don't really. I'm not. It's not that I can't do it, and I'm not bad at it once I do it. It's just that I don't really push myself to find that new relationship with other people. I think that's what probably the best way to describe it. But for me, it all comes down to. I think we spoke about this once. I can't remember which ICW call it was, but we spoke about the forward questions, um, which I first learned about in Ninja Selling. I want to say. I think it was in there. Yeah, Ninja Selling, the book, fantastic book, which is just about building relationships and starting those relationships, and it's exactly what we're talking about today. So I think getting into topics that have nothing to do with real estate is obviously the best way to go about it. My issue when I first read that book was, you got to ask about family and their, occupation and recreation and whatever else, and their dreams or their desires or goals. Um, when I first wanted to put it into play or into practice, I felt like I was interrogating someone. I was like, "Tell me about your family." Okay, now what do you do? Like, what's your job? And it wasn't as natural and as flowing. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't like it turned out okay. But I think there's easier ways or other ways to go around it. But I think that is usually the best place to start. Go through, their family, or find out what they do for work or what they do for fun, or why they're moving, why they're selling, why they look to buy, why they're relocating, or whatever it is, and then try and find something, a common interest between the two. That's how I usually do it, and then we talk about that for a while, just to kind of break the ice and uh, start the conversation flowing and make each other feel a little bit more comfortable with talking, and then eventually, it kind of flows into talking about real estate somehow, and then yeah, just nurturing from there. That's what I tend to strive for anyway when I'm starting off building relationships.
I love it, man. And I think you hit the nail on the head. again, man, I'm gonna buy a hammer and send it to you. It's gonna be the golden hammer. All right. Because you are just hitting it, yeah, point after point, brother.
That's it.
Love it. So a couple things that I totally agree with. I mean, I always agree with you for the most part. Uh, the four techniques, I agree. I think using the four techniques, they're not designed for a question answer format to rattle off and blow through.
Yeah.
What I dig about stuff like this is that if you maybe are an introvert and you don't know what to ask, that's when you do implement on a four technique. When you ask about family, and I love that you use that example. Hey, tell me about your family. Oh, well, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, what about recreation? Got any dreams? It's not that quick. I was done in 15 seconds with the Ford technique. It's not that, that's not how it's designed.
Yeah.
Ask about the family and sit there on that question. And be curious. And that was the other thing that you said. You're genuinely curious
Yeah.
about that person. And that builds a friendship. If I get to stop and understand you, Ian, our relationship will grow, and it has grown. You know, I've gotten to know your wife through you, your children, you know, what you like to do besides real estate. You know, it's those things, you know, where you're from, your brothers, you know, that stuff. We share
Right.
these stories because we've built a friendship. And that's where you want to look at it. Look at yourself. If you're trying to figure out how to connect with more people out there, maybe you like to go door knocking for real estate. Um, you've got to connect with anybody, and door knocking is going to be a whole different realm, but you want to find that commonality, like you said,
Yeah.
and that's going to definitely help because now it's a connection, and make it genuine,
Yeah.
and be that curiosity, that curious person overall. That is all going to help you build it. And then when you have a Ford technique in your mind, you could use that as leverage. So if you do get into a dull moment in your brain or you just can't think of something, let that Ford come out. And you don't have to answer all the Ford. You get one. You sit on the family question and get to know them and their family
Yeah. That's it.
and see if there's a commonality, right? And
Yeah.
then grow it from there. Oh man, you've got two brothers. I've got two brothers. Boom, relatable,
Yeah.
right? Oh wow, you've got a mom and dad. I've got a mom and dad. What a coincidence! You can make jokes like that though too, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
so and I agree with you too. You know, hey, maybe being an introvert, you may not slide a joke in there like that. Me, I would slide a joke in there just because, you know, I get weird with our quietness. So,
Yeah.
but no, I think all that stuff is a great piece to write down, use it for your notes, and be able to move on.
Yeah. And I always, it's not that I go into if it's my first time talking to or meeting a potential client or whatever, it's not that I have like a strategy. There's not one way that I do it. There's not a method or a strategy. I'm going to start with this and then go into this and go into this. I just like the Ford. So the family, occupation, recreation, and is it desires? I think it's desires or dreams.
I say dreams, but
Dreams, yeah.
dreams, desires going
Uh,
hand in hand.
it's not that I kind of go through it in that order or whatever. It's just always in the back of my mind. Like I can use it. It's there if I need it. It's a tool at my disposal. If because everybody's had the experience where you just connect with a client and you're like off to the races instantly. It's just easy. They're just easy going. You understand each other. Maybe you start off instantly with similar interests or whatever. For example, sometimes there was one time I was checking out a potential listing, and one of the bedrooms, he opened the door and it was just full of guitars. And I was like, oh man, I was like, I've been playing guitar for years. And honestly, it was like we stood for about an hour just chatting music, chatting guitars, and it was like the easiest listening ever after that. And that was about 2 years ago, and I still talk to the guy today as well.
Awesome.
So for me, that's super easy stuff. My goal, although again, it's not that I go into the meetings thinking about this, it's just kind of like a natural thing for me now, is to find a commonality between us, whether it is family, in occupation, and maybe he works in something that one of my brothers has worked in, or my father works in, or something. We can bring it up and connect that way. Maybe we have the same hobbies, and the same goals. I don't know. So it's not, I don't take the Ford technique and go through it one by one. I just kind of use it as a template and as a reserve in case I need it and kind of get stuck with what I'm doing. And I do like to make jokes as well. The jokes actually help me being an introvert, because it's like, for me, it's like a way to connect easier with someone. And
Good.
it always goes down well. And I think one of the most important things that you said was be yourself, be authentic, because people can see and smell a sale a mile away. And if you're trying to start a relationship with someone with the end goal of just making money off of them, then they're gonna know that. They'll know that your little jokes and your smiles and your Thor technique is all just a strategy to get money off of them at the end of the day. One thing I always teach to others is that my clients turn into my friends. They're not just transactions. A lot of them, I reckon the most common way that a realtor might work, I'm not so sure, it might depend on your market, is that once that deal is done and sealed and you've got that check and you've got the money in the bank, then you kind of forget about them and not go back to them again. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. I think that keeping in touch with past clients, buyers or sellers, they're not going to buy or sell again. In short term, they've just sold with you. But well, they might, but super important to nurture those relationships and keep them going as well.
Totally agree. And yes, I love all that, man. That is a vital part of that relationship. Just think, your best friend out there. How did that relationship go? Did you come out talking business? Maybe, maybe that is, but
Yeah.
look at some of the other friendships. Maybe you have a spouse um, that you truly love. How did you start that relationship? Go back and revisit these relationships that mean so much to you right now, and dissect it to say, how did we get to where we are? And then use that plus everything we've been talking about into building and maintaining that relationship. Because you said a good word in there, in nurture. You've got to nurture the relationship, and you've got to check in with them. You got to see what's going on. You've got to be there for them. And you need to be understanding when you're talking to these potential clients and you're trying to build a relationship, listen to them.
Yeah.
Are they going through a lot of guff? Are they going through hardship of finances? Are they going through hardship of life? Maybe somebody passes that's close to them. Give them the space. It's okay. Come from that abundance versus scarcity, and that'll help you too with all your sales in real estate, especially. But nurture that, and then come back and have a conversation about it. You don't have to go into detail, but yeah, just say, hey, and I know we were talking last time, and you hit a rough spot with finances. I get it. The economy's up and down. Hey, I just wanted to check in. Seriously, how are you doing? And just see how they're doing. And people are people, so they kind of blow it off. Oh, I'm doing really good. All right, cool. Well, you have to dive in a little bit more. And maybe you need to have more intention in your questions. Or if you are doing something vague, like, man, Ian, how are you really? dial it back, peel that onion, they say, right? How does that look? Say, hey, you were working on finances, where are you today? That's a little bit more direct. Well, I'm not negative as far as my finances. I'm about even, but that's a plus because I was in the black
Right.
before,
Right.
or in the red, whatever it is. But yeah, you get it. So intently listen to these guys and gals, and then that way you can help that relationship. Because again, if I want to build my relationship even better with my wife, then I need to listen better, right?
Yeah.
So I can listen on what she needs and then build that. And that's the same thing with clients in real estate. What do they need? And then let me provide my value, help build that, and then be a person and grow a relationship, right?
Yeah. And it's getting to know the client is one of the most important things, I think. And you said listen to them a lot. Is it's fundamental because for example, I got a recent kind of story that ties in with all of this. I have a couple from Belgium that are buying a new construction here in Spain, and it's already under contract. Everything's underway. They've paid part of the payment that needs to get done through the process and everything else. So the house is theirs. It's sold. Technically, I've done my job. It's now in the builder's hands. It's like how it works out here anyway. Technically, I'm finished. I still have a little bit of commission to make here because we don't get it all until the house is finished. We get part of it and then we get the rest of it when it's done. But most agents that I know of that have sold new construction properties work up to where the client says, yes, I want this one. They sign the contract, they get a little bit of commission, and that's pretty much it. It's like out of their hands now, it's all done. But for me, I know that one of the major concerns with this sale in particular was the area of where the construction is. A few years ago, 2019, we had major rain and floods. It caused huge historical kind of floods here in my area, and that was one of the areas that got hit the most. It was like pretty much underwater. It was terrible. And that was one of these buyers' major concerns. They said, well, if that happens again, kind of thing, and it's not really going to happen again because it's like an historical event, but we can't guarantee anything. So they were really on the fence after they made the decision of buying the property, whether they actually wanted to pull out of it and lose their money, or just carry on. They didn't know what to do because that was a major concern of theirs. And then they went back to Belgium. So they don't live here in Spain. They went back. So my thinking was, it rained here really heavily for a couple of days. And my first thought was, right, I'm going to go around the build site, take a video. I'm going to go in my car, take a video on my phone and show them what it looks like when it's super heavy rain here. Because I know that if it was me and I had left the country, I probably wouldn't be sleeping at nights thinking, oh God, what about this? What about that? It's going to fall through. It's not going to work. There's going to be issues in the future and whatever else. So I took a video and I sent them that video to the buyers, and they were super, super happy that I was taking the time out actually to go through this and kind of put their worries to rest. That was what her words were. And eventually, they trusted in me and in the builder, and they're going to go ahead with the sale, which is awesome. But I noted the date that they were coming back from Belgium to Spain on my calendar. So that morning I woke up and there was a notification on my calendar, the Belgian couple are coming back. So the day after, I messaged them and I said, hey, I know you're back in Spain. I remember you told me you're coming back on this date, whatever. How about we meet for coffee? And I met them for coffee. Again, drove around the build site. They could see their house being built and stuff like that. So it's like these little things full of intention, my intention being that they're put 101% trust in me because I have no doubt that everything's going to be okay. And that in the future, anytime that they have anyone that they know that either wants to buy or sell in this area in Spain, I know for a fact that I'm going to be the agent that they call. And I know this because even though that they haven't completed on the house or anything less, they already left me a 5-star review,
Oh,
which is awesome. And that's what it's all about. For me, it's putting myself in their shoes, finding out what their worries are, and like you said, getting to know the client and listening to them really intently and intentionally. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head this time.
nice. Golden hammer.
A golden hammer
Nice,
moment.
brother. But no, kudos for you because you're being the ultimate professional.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're paying attention to what they are. You're putting yourself in their shoes.
Yep.
Man, come on. Just like you said, how did she word that? How she was worried. What'd you say there?
I put her worries to rest. Yeah.
You put her worries to rest. Huge.
Yeah.
Because chances are they didn't express those worries to you. But yet they know that it rains heavily in Spain and they know that they're building. So they have concerns, but they're not open enough to share them with you. And that's okay.
Oh,
But
no.
you took that step ahead because you knew that and you just knew, hey man, it rains a
Yeah.
lot. I'm going to show them this video
Yeah.
and do this because that's the kind of guy you are. So that's where you want to have that progressive thinking. So great job, Ian, on that.
Yeah,
That's really
was,
cool. Love that story, man.
it was really interesting because they had like mentioned it slightly when we first saw the properties. And it was like one of the things they were like, oh, we really need to think about this because the flooding and whatever else. So it's kind of like it was mentioned at the beginning, but then I hadn't realized that they were actually thinking about pulling out and losing their money until I sent them the video, and that kind of like sparked up another conversation. And we went into, talk about all these things and looking at articles and whatever. But eventually, like, I put her worries to rest. So that was no, if I hadn't picked up on that at the beginning, kind of put the two and two together when it was raining here. And it sounds silly thinking about it. It's like, oh, it's raining. I'm going to show her what it looks like when it rains. But that actually, that's like I said, that stopped them from pulling out of the sale
Yeah.
and them going ahead with the building their dream home here in Spain. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Man, Ian, we've just got a few minutes left, but I wanted to tie in relationships with teams because we've got a few team leaders on this call now, and I know a few watch this on replays as well. You run a team of about 20 agents, and you build amazing relationships. And
yeah.
I know because I've gotten to know your team. I've been able to be part of those relationships as well. Looking from a team leader perspective, what do you share there? As far as developing those, and just let's start there real fast.
So honestly, it's pretty much exactly the same thing because it's just people, buyers, sellers, your team members, your everyone. It's just people, and people are all the same in that aspect that in when it comes to relationship building, like we all have the same needs and requirements and things like that. So when it comes to the team, that's something that I focus a lot on, like a lot, is making sure they're comfortable and happy. I think that's one of the biggest things. If they were to ever get out of real estate, it would never be because of me or because they were part of my team. That's like one of the things that I always have in the back of my head. If somebody ever leaves, they will never ever have a bad word to say about the experience that they have within the champions here in Spain per se, because like I'll call them every week if they want called every week. If not, then I'm not going to bother them. I might just send a message. But it's just like today, I called one of them up because she's had an injury in her ankle. And I was like, how's the recovery going? What are you up to? Is your husband there to help? Because I know he works away. What about your daughter? She's young. Are you able to, I'm just talking about life and, and then tying in how's business? How's the listings going? How was that listing that you got last week, which was really difficult? It's about remembering these things and then relating it back to them afterwards as well. Super important. But honestly, it's kind of like the same as what I do with my buyers and sellers. just listen and really learn to know who they are, and keep on top of that. And then if they're happy and if they're comfortable, they'll do well. So
Yeah, I totally agree too. I think it is. It's that playing field across the board as you want to build relationships. So if you're looking to build a team, maybe that's a great way to start. And then if you are that team leader, enhance it. What can you do? Maybe share some of their wins on Facebook, or if they're sharing it on social media, share it to your personal page. Things like that go a long way. Or just even commenting on it. Hey, great job, Ian. I'm so proud of you. Look at where you've gone. This is amazing. Something that's encouraging. Something that I've done too is I drop a positive quote in the comments on social media, because it's an inspirational moment that, hey, maybe you're celebrating a victory or an anniversary or whatever it is. Maybe it's your son's birthday. Whatever. There's a quote that could possibly fit in there to, hey, how cool is this moment, to relish it, just what touches you. So think outside the box. And I love, that you just tied it together into just people are people.
Yeah, people are people.
And that's what we want, man. So, hey, just another minute here, brother. Last words from your side. What do you got?
People are people, not transactions. That's where I would leave it at that. People are people, not transactions. Your goal shouldn't be to sell not only the property that they want to sell now, but the one that they're going to sell 10 years from now or 5 years from now, or their brother's house or their whoever's house. People are people, not transactions.
Totally agree. Well said. And, you guys, we're here to build some ships, whether it's friendships, relationships, partnerships. Let's build as many ships as we can, you guys, because when we could sail those ships, the ocean's going to be beautiful and it's going to be plentiful too. So let's keep kicking some butt out there, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on ICW. Join us next Tuesday at noon Eastern. We're going to have more great topics all about real estate. And if you need anything else, maybe something sparked your interest today that you want to have a conversation about, reach out to us very easily. Find us on all social media platforms, Ian Main, Jason Justak. We're here for you guys. But thank you all for enjoying, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. Take care.